That prescription bottle sitting on your bathroom counter right now might look completely harmless. You assume that if a medication is highly popular, FDA approved, or sold right over the counter, it can't possibly target your manhood. But that assumption is a dangerous lie. The reality is that some of the most widely used drugs in the world are designed to protect one part of your body by completely paralyzing another, and the collapse happens fast. We aren't talking about a slow, gradual decline over 10 years. We are talking about waking up one day and realizing that your ability to achieve a natural, firm erection has been completely wiped out. Your body suddenly stops responding to arousal. The chemical signals get scrambled, and your doctor likely never said a single word about it when they handed you the script. Think about the sheer weight of that realization. You are doing everything right, taking care of your health, but you are quietly paying for your survival with your masculinity. Before we pull back the curtain on these 9 popular medications, let's do something quick. Drop a comment right now with your city and where you are watching from. I read through these every day, and knowing where you're tuning in from keeps me grounded in why we are building this community for male vitality. I am Dr. David Chen, and my entire life revolves around studying men's health, endocrinology, and vascular performance. Week after week, men sit in my clinic feeling completely broken. They look me in the eye and confess that their intimate life died 3 months ago. They think it's their age. They think they are losing their edge. But when we look at their chart, the answer is staring right back at us in black and white. They aren't broken at all. They are just heavily medicated. The medical system has a massive blind spot when it comes to prescription side effects. Your primary care doctor has 10 minutes to see you. They see a symptom like high blood pressure, hair loss, or mild anxiety, and they immediately write a prescription to fix the number on the screen. But they completely ignore the delicate balance required for a healthy erection. An erection is a complex, high-pressure vascular event. It requires flawless nerve communication, a massive surge of nitric oxide, and perfect hormonal balance. If you introduce a synthetic compound that alters even one of those elements, the entire system crashes. Let's start with the most common trap: beta blockers. Medications like metoprolol or atenolol are handed out like candy for blood pressure and heart health. The myth is that they only work on your heart muscle. The reality is far more brutal. Beta blockers work by turning down the volume on your adrenaline system. They slow your heart rate and reduce the force of your blood flow to keep your heart safe. But an erection requires a highly active parasympathetic nervous system response. Your brain has to send a clean, powerful electrical signal down your spine to your pelvic floor. That signal tells the smooth muscle inside your erectile chambers to relax so blood can rush in. When you are on a beta blocker, that wire is essentially sedated. The electrical message gets completely lost in transit. You can be deeply in love, mentally starving for intimacy, and your body will act like an absolute block of ice. The physical connection is dead because the drug has chemically muted your nervous system. Think about how terrifying that is. You look at your partner, you feel the desire in your mind, but your body acts like it belongs to someone else. The neural highway is completely blocked, and because you don't know it's the medication, you start spiraling into performance anxiety. Every single time you try, you become a spectator in your own bedroom, analyzing your body, waiting for a response that cannot physically happen. The pharmacological peak of the drug sits directly on your nerve receptors, filtering out the signals of arousal before they can even cross your hips. Over time, your body forgets how to trigger this neurological spark naturally, because it has been under constant chemical dampening. Then come the thiazide diuretics. Most people know them simply as water pills, like hydrochlorothiazide. They are designed to flush excess fluid out of your body to lower your arterial pressure. But think about the basic physics of male performance. An erection is entirely a fluid-dependent event. If you intentionally drain your total blood volume to its lowest baseline point, your body cannot physically fill that cavernous tissue. It's simple hydraulics. If there isn't enough volume in the main reservoir, The distant pipes stay completely dry. To make matters worse, these specific water pills strip your body of zinc and potassium. Zinc is the foundational building block your body uses to manufacture testosterone. When your zinc levels drop, your pituitary gland stops sending the signal to produce testosterone. Your T levels tank, your blood volume drops, and you are left with a weak, partial response that causes immediate psychological panic. You try to push through it, but you're fighting against basic math. Less fluid plus less testosterone equals zero performance. And you're left holding a script that was supposed to save your life, but is quietly draining your manhood. The physical tissue of the corpora cavernosa requires high fluid tension to trap blood and create structural rigidity. When a diuretic continuously flushes out your intracellular water and essential electrolytes, the smooth muscle walls lose their tone. They become sluggish. They cannot contract properly to lock the blood inside, meaning even if you manage to get blood down there, it leaks right back out into your systemic circulation. The next category is a quiet assassin of male virility, SSRI, antidepressants. Drugs like sertraline, fluoxetine, or escitalopram. They are prescribed for mood stabilization, but they carry a devastating tax on your sex life. These medications force your brain to hold on to more serotonin. But high levels of serotonin act as a direct chemical brake on dopamine and nitric oxide. Dopamine is the chemical of desire. Nitric oxide is the chemical of physical blood vessel expansion. When you suppress both, you don't just lose the ability to get an erection. You lose the mental drive to even care about it. Men on SSRIs often tell me they feel completely numb. The physical sensation is gone, the drive is gone, and achieving an erection feels like trying to start a car with no engine. It is a complete shutdown of both the mind and the flesh. You sit there wondering where your passion went, feeling like an observer in your own marriage, while the drug forms an invisible wall between you and the person you love. This emotional bluntness is not just in your head. It is a literal downregulation of your peripheral reward pathways. The tactile nerves that send pleasure signals back to your brain are desensitized by the constant saturation of serotonin. You are physically disconnected from your skin, making the entire act of intimacy feel like a chore rather than a natural expression of vitality. Then we have to talk about hair loss medications, specifically finasteride, whether you take it as a pill or even apply it topically. This drug blocks an enzyme called 5-alpha reductase. That enzyme is responsible for converting testosterone into a much more potent male hormone called DHT. The medical industry tells you that DHT only matters for your hairline. That is an absolute lie. DHT is heavily responsible for maintaining the health of the smooth muscle tissue inside your penis. It is the hormone that keeps those tissues elastic and capable of trapping blood. When you crush your DHT levels to save a few strands of hair, you actively cause tissue changes in your pelvic floor. The vessels lose their compliance, they become rigid, and many men suffer from what clinical studies call post-finasteride syndrome, meaning even after they stop taking the drug, the erectile dysfunction remains locked in place because the tissue architecture was altered. It is a massive price to pay for vanity. You traded your deep, intrinsic masculine power for a minor aesthetic adjustment because the marketing told you it was completely safe. When you look at the histology of the penis under the influence of long-term finasteride use, you see a terrifying trend. The healthy, elastic, smooth muscle cells are slowly replaced by rigid collagen and fibrous scar tissue. This is structural degeneration. Once those cells become fibrotic, they lose the physical ability to expand when nitric oxide is present. You are essentially trading your internal biological engine for an external paint job. Let's look at something even more common: acid reflux medications, specifically PPIs like omeprazole. You buy them at the grocery store without a prescription. You think they just calm your stomach acid, but your body needs stomach acid to absorb critical micronutrients. When you chronically suppress that acid, your gut can no longer absorb vitamin B12 and magnesium. B12 is mandatory for nerve health and peripheral blood flow signaling. Without it, you develop microneuropathy in the smallest nerves of your body, including the ones that trigger a vascular expansion. Furthermore, PPIs have been shown in recent clinical data to directly inhibit endothelial nitric oxide synthase. That is the exact enzyme your blood vessels use to create the gas that widens your arteries. By stopping heartburn, you are quite literally starving your blood vessels of the one chemical they need to open up. The plumbing closes down because you shut off the cellular signaling mechanism. Magnesium deficiency adds fuel to this fire by causing the smooth muscles around your arteries to constrict and tighten up. Instead of a relaxed, wide-open highway for blood flow, your pelvic blood vessels become narrow, tense, and resistant to pressure. You are fighting a war against your own digestion, completely unaware that your daily antacid is a direct physiological block to your nighttime performance. The sixth group will surprise many: statins for cholesterol. Medications like atorvastatin or simvastatin. They are praised for cleaning out your arteries. But look at how your body actually creates male hormones. Cholesterol is the raw, essential precursor to testosterone. Your body cannot make a single molecule of testosterone without cholesterol as the baseline material. When you aggressively force your cholesterol numbers down to extreme lows, your Leydig cells in the testes run out of supplies. Your natural hormone production drops. You start experiencing muscle loss, brain fog, and a severe drop in nocturnal erections. Your heart might look great on a lab report, but your masculinity is paying the bill. You become soft all over, your muscles, your energy, and your performance, all because the raw manufacturing material for your male vitality was completely eliminated from your system. Testosterone is not just about libido. It is the hormone that signals the bone marrow to produce red blood cells and keeps the vascular lining healthy. When statins cut off the base cholesterol molecule, the entire endocrine cascade collapses. Your free testosterone levels tank, leaving your vascular system without the hormonal support required to maintain long-term erectile health and cellular repair. Now let's talk about over-the-counter antihistamines. Allergy pills like diphenhydramine or cetirizine. You take them because your eyes are watering or you can't sleep. But these drugs work through a powerful anticholinergic mechanism. They block a neurotransmitter called acetylcholine. Acetylcholine is the primary chemical trigger your nervous system uses to initiate a parasympathetic response. It is the literal starting spark for an erection. When you flood your system with an antihistamine, you put your pelvic nerves into a temporary state of paralysis. You might stop sneezing, but your vascular system becomes completely unresponsive to any form of physical stimulation. The system is dead to the touch because the chemical switch that tells the vessels to prepare for blood flow has been completely blocked by an over-the-counter allergy pill. Many men use these allergy medications as a nightly sleep aid, entirely unaware of the compounding damage. By introducing an anticholinergic compound into your system every single night, you maintain a continuous baseline of neurological suppression. Your body never enters the deep, parasympathetic recovery state where natural nocturnal erections occur, depriving your pelvic tissues of their vital nightly oxygenation and blood flow cycles. The eighth category is benzodiazepines for anxiety. Alprazolam, clonazepam, diazepam. They calm your brain by rewriting your central nervous system's response to stress. But they are full-body muscle relaxants and central nervous system depressants. An erection requires a highly coordinated, sharp burst of neurological energy. If your entire brain is in a state of chemical sedation, that burst cannot happen. The sedation overpowers the natural reflexes of your body. You end up completely detached, unable to maintain the structural rigidity required for intimacy. Your mind is too quiet, your nerves are too slow, and the structural tension required to lock blood flow inside the pelvic tissue is completely lost under the weight of the sedative. This central sedation blunts the axis between your brain's emotional center, the amygdala, and your spinal erection centers. The psychological desire might flash for a second, but the physical manifestation is completely smothered by the drug's enhancement of GABA, the brain's primary inhibitory chemical. You are operating on a deadened battery, trying to power a high-demand vascular mechanism with a completely depleted electrical grid. Finally, we have to look at chronic NSAID use. Everyday painkillers like ibuprofen or naproxen. Men over 40 take them daily for joint pain, backaches, or old sports injuries. They treat them like candy. But NSAIDs work by blocking an enzyme called COX, which reduces prostaglandins. Prostaglandins are not just involved in pain, they are deeply involved in maintaining vascular tone and blood vessel relaxation. Large-scale epidemiological studies have shown that men who use NSAIDs regularly have a significantly higher risk of rapid-onset erectile dysfunction. You are treating a sore knee by slowly suffocating the blood flow to your groin. You are dampening the exact chemical pathways that keep your endothelial lining flexible and reactive. Prostaglandins act as local cellular messengers that coordinate the widening of the microvessels in response to physical demand. When you map out the long-term usage of over-the-counter anti-inflammatories, you see a steady erosion of this local vascular signaling. The vessels become deaf to the body's own commands, completely locking up and refusing to accommodate the massive, sudden shift in blood volume necessary to initiate performance. Look at your nightstand tonight. Look at those bottles. I am not telling you to throw your prescription medication into the trash can right now. That would be incredibly dangerous. You should never alter your medical routine coldly without a precise, guided conversation with your doctor. But you must walk into that clinic armed with this exact data. You need to look your physician in the eye and tell them that your quality of life matters just as much as the numbers on their clipboard. Ask them if there are alternative options. Ask if an ACE inhibitor can replace that beta blocker. Ask if lifestyle modifications can heal your gut so you can get off those acid reducers. Demand a health strategy that honors your entire body, not just one isolated organ. If you are ready to stop accepting standardized, lazy medical protocols that quietly erode your confidence, hitting subscribe takes 2 seconds. It ensures you will never miss the clinical truths we cover every single week. Take control of your treatments, protect your heart, and refuse to let a plastic bottle dictate your power as a man. Let's go deeper into what happens when you combine these drugs, because most men over 40 aren't just taking one pill. They are taking a cocktail. They take a statin for cholesterol, a beta blocker for blood pressure, and an ibuprofen for their lower back. This is what we call polypharmacy, and it is the absolute death sentence for male performance. When these molecules meet inside your bloodstream, they don't just act independently, they multiply each other's side effects. The statin cuts off the testosterone supply at the factory level in your testicles. The beta blocker mutes the nervous system signal from your brain, so the message never reaches your pelvis. And the ibuprofen blocks the prostaglandin release needed to let the blood vessels physically expand. You are attacking your body's natural mechanics from 3 completely different angles simultaneously. And then you wonder why a blue pill or a supplement doesn't fix the problem. It can't fix the problem because the entire highway has been completely dismantled by your daily prescription routine. Think about the psychological trap this creates. You feel a minor physical failure in the bedroom, and your brain instantly switches into panic mode. That panic releases adrenaline, which naturally narrows your blood vessels even further to prepare your body for a fight or flight situation. Now you have a chemical blocker inside your veins and a massive wall of performance anxiety in your mind. The next time intimacy is even a possibility, you aren't thinking about connection or pleasure. You are completely locked in your own head, running a mental checklist, praying that your body will cooperate. You start avoiding your partner. You stay up late watching TV just to make sure they are asleep before you get into bed. You create silent arguments just to build emotional distance, all to protect yourself from the humiliation of a physical mechanism that has been hijacked by a plastic prescription bottle. Your partner starts feeling rejected, thinking you are no longer attracted to them or that you are hiding something. An entire relationship begins to fracture, not because the love is gone, but because a rushed 10-minute doctor's visit years ago resulted in a generic compliance script that ignored your manhood. This emotional and physical wedge deepens every single day you remain silent. The lack of open communication breeds an environment of assumption, where an entirely fixable pharmacological issue is twisted into an existential crisis about the survival of your relationship. You begin to accept a muted, degraded version of your life, viewing your own body as a failing machine rather than an incredibly adaptive system that is simply reacting to an unoptimized chemical overload. This is why you have to change your perspective on how you interact with the medical system. Your doctor looks at a chart. They look at blood pressure, cholesterol, and blood sugar. To them, if those numbers are in the green zone, you are a success story. But if you are living as a shadow of yourself, unable to express your masculinity or connect with your partner, that is not a success. That is a failure of personalized medicine. You need to walk into your next appointment not as a passive patient waiting for orders, but as an active manager of your own biological machine. Bring a list of every single medication you take, including the over-the-counter ones you bought at the grocery store. Look your doctor in the eye and say, "We need to optimize my numbers, but we are not going to sacrifice my quality of life to do it." Ask for alternative classes of drugs. If you are on a beta blocker, ask if an angiotensin receptor blocker or an ACE inhibitor is appropriate for your heart profile, as these drugs typically maintain endothelial function without paralyzing your pelvic nerves. If you are taking a PPI for acid reflux, ask for a structured taper plan to restore your natural stomach acid so you can absorb the B12 and magnesium required for neural health. Investigate the root causes of your symptoms instead of just throwing synthetic blankets over them. High blood pressure, high cholesterol, and anxiety are often smoke signals from an underlying metabolic fire. Fix the fire through targeted nutrition, strategic resistance training, and proper sleep architecture, and the need for these heavy chemical interventions will naturally diminish. Your body possesses an incredible built-in capacity to heal and auto-regulate if you stop suffocating its cellular pathways with a constant influx of popular medications. When you transition your lifestyle to support your natural metabolic architecture, your dependence on chronic, baseline-suppressing pharmaceuticals begins to drop. By focusing on your mitochondrial health, optimizing your body composition, and correcting your micronutrient deficiencies, you give your body the exact tools it needs to regulate its own arterial tension. You step out of the defensive loop of managing symptoms with plastic bottles and step into the offensive strategy of building true foundational health from the cellular level up. Take control of your health strategy. Protect your heart, protect your mind, but never surrender your baseline power as a man. If this raw, uncompromised look into male biology is what you've been searching for, make sure to hit subscribe so you never miss our deep dives into human vitality. Stand up for your body, question the routine, and reclaim your virility.